Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Authorities in Plymouth County, Massachusetts are asking for the public's help this week as they seek to identify the suspect behind a disturbing fatal shooting that took place at a crowded local restaurant. The situation unfolded on the evening of January 12th at the Hibachi Sushi Supreme Buffet located in Brockton East Shopping Plaza. It was a busy Friday night at the Japanese restaurant when suddenly, just a few minutes before 7:30 p.m., dinner service was interrupted by a gunshot. That shot struck and killed 22-year-old Joe Araujo. Surveillance footage released by the Brockton police shows the unidentified gunman entering the building before walking over towards the booth where Joe was seated. As he passes by, the man abruptly pulls out a gun and shoots before anyone has time to react. The masked man escapes in the resulting chaos as other diners attempt to scramble to safety. At the time of this recording, little else appears to be known about the killing, though police say they believe the shooting was targeted. Joe's family say they have no idea what could have motivated the crime, nor who could be responsible. Authorities are now asking for help from members of the public, especially anyone who might recognize the 22-year-old's killer. Anyone with information is encouraged to reach out to the Brockton Police Department at 508-941-0200.
Authorities in Marin County, California say that a local woman is dead this week and her daughter has been arrested for her murder after she allegedly stabbed her to death in her own home, a crime that was horrifyingly broadcast on Facebook Live. According to reports, the incident began just before 5 p.m. on January 8th, when police in the city of San Rafael received multiple concerned calls about a crime in progress at an apartment complex on Cresta Way. Witnesses said that an attack was taking place in one of the units there, with several people claiming that they had seen what was happening as it was streamed on Facebook Live. When officers arrived at the apartment, they were directed to a rear balcony at the complex, where they were met with a horrifying sight. A woman, later identified as 28-year-old Townsend Beltran, was holding a knife and standing over what appeared to be another woman's body. Her clothes were soaked in blood. Police attempted to get Beltran to drop her weapon, however she refused to follow any commands. Eventually, a team of officers forced their way into the unit she was in and arrested her while she was being distracted by other officers outside. The victim, who was quickly identified as Beltran's 55-year-old mother, Olivia Lucia Beltran Pacheco, was rushed to a nearby hospital. Sadly, she died shortly after arriving there, the result of multiple stab wounds. Upon further investigation, authorities learned that the Facebook Live video wasn't the only footage Beltran had posted that day. Just hours earlier, she had uploaded several clips to TikTok, a couple of which seemed to offer disturbing insight into the 28-year-old's mental state ahead of the brutal attack. In the first video, which was posted at around 1:30 p.m., Beltran can be seen filming inside the lobby of the Santa Rosa police station. At the time, she and her mother had reportedly gone to pick up her car, which had been impounded the previous day when the 28-year-old was arrested following a vehicle pursuit. As Olivia speaks with police, an officer can be heard saying that he doesn't feel comfortable with Beltran driving, and that based on what the mother had said, he believes she is suffering from mental health issues. Olivia assures the officer that the car will be kept stored and will not be accessible to her daughter. While the pair are still talking, Beltran pulls out and proceeds to flash a pocket knife on camera, though this is apparently not seen by either her mother or the officer. At one point, Beltran points her camera at the officer's holster and says to herself, quote, "Look at that nice pistol." In following clips, Beltran is in the car with her mother, who is pleading with her to calm down. Olivia tells her that she needs to stop putting herself in harm's way and that she's worried the 28-year-old is going to end up in jail. Sadly, the fatal attack happened just a couple of hours later. Olivia's death has come not only as a major blow to her friends and family, but also to the broader community. According to reports, she was well known for her work in San Rafael's Canal neighborhood, especially for the translation work she did helping Spanish-speaking immigrants. At the time of this recording, Townsend Beltran remains in custody on a murder charge. She is being held without bail.
Authorities in St. Charles County, Missouri say that an 18-year-old man is facing murder charges this week after he allegedly shot an acquaintance more than a dozen times during the middle of an altercation and then tried to conceal his body to cover up the killing. The incident began sometime on January 8th when police in the city of St. Peters were contacted by a man who informed them about a possible crime at a residence on the 300 block of Willett Square Drive. The witness, who said that he lived at the residence, stated that he believed one of his roommates may have shot and killed a mutual acquaintance. When officers responded to the scene, they found the roommate in question, 18-year-old Jackson Pierce, along with an unnamed juvenile. They were eventually led to a bedroom closet inside the house, where they found the alleged victim, 23-year-old Dalton Coleman. His body had been rolled up into an air mattress, and his head had been covered with a plastic bag, which was secured with an extension cord cut from a nearby lamp. An autopsy later revealed he had been shot at least 15 times. Pierce, along with the juvenile, were arrested. During further conversations, the witness told authorities that before the shooting, Pierce had called him saying that Dalton had showed up at their house asking about, quote, unknown belongings, and behaving erratically. The witness said he got on the phone with both Pierce and Dalton and tried to calm the situation down, telling Pierce to move any items of value into his room for the time being, including a gun that he knew that Pierce had. Minutes later, Pierce called back saying that he had killed Dalton after he broke into a room where he and the juvenile were attempting to isolate themselves. The witness encouraged Pierce to call police, but he refused. At the time of this recording, Pierce remains in custody and has been charged with second-degree murder, armed criminal action, and tampering with physical evidence. The juvenile also remains in custody, though their charges have not been released due to their age.
Authorities in Middlesex County, Massachusetts announced this week that a local woman was recently arrested and charged following strange and disturbing allegations that she poisoned her husband of 45 years after falling for an online romance scam. The whole thing reportedly began back on December 3rd when Middlesex's Townsend Police Department received a call from a woman named Nicole Heath. Nicole said that her father, 73-year-old Paul Doucette, had been hospitalized 2 days earlier, and she now had reason to believe that her mother, 64-year-old Roxanne Doucette, might be responsible. According to Nicole, while she was in the hospital, she saw messages on Roxanne's phone between her and another person. This person was claiming to be Thorsten Kaye, an actor who plays Ridge Forrester on the popular soap opera The Bold and the Beautiful. They were telling Roxanne that they loved her, and it appeared Roxanne had sent them several $1,000s at their request. Nicole immediately realized that her mother was being catfished. However, as she was gathering evidence which she planned to send to police, she stumbled across even more disturbing messages. The scammer was telling Roxanne that she needed to get rid of her husband so that they could be together. On December 1st, the same day that Paul had been hospitalized, Roxanne received a message that read, quote, "You have to get rid of your husband, honey. I need you so much." Though the 64-year-old initially replied that she needed to think, later that same day at 2:34 p.m., she messaged back, quote, "Making an amazing soup. Special potion. He will be hungry when he gets back. Just enough for him." This was followed by another message at 4:26 p.m. reading, quote, "Hubby got back, not feeling well. Maybe I can collect life insurance." At 5:11 p.m., she called 911, telling dispatchers that Paul was unresponsive. Thankfully, he survived. While preliminary toxicology tests on Paul came back negative, authorities say these only tested for opioids, cocaine, and alcohol. When the 73-year-old woke up at the hospital, he reportedly told his daughter that the soup Roxanne fed him tasted bitter. According to reports, so far Roxanne has denied any wrongdoing, saying that she didn't poison her husband and that she never would have tried to hurt him. She says she believes that he suffered a mini stroke, and that was the reason for his sudden illness. Police say that the 64-year-old was not cooperative with the investigation and that she refused repeatedly when they tried to seize her iPad, phone, and other electronic devices. She also allegedly kicked an officer in the groin when they first attempted to take her into custody. At the time of this recording, Roxanne Doucette is facing multiple charges, including intimidation of a witness, resisting arrest, assault and battery on a police officer, and attempted murder.
Authorities in North Carolina say that a National Guardsman has been arrested and is facing charges this week after police were allegedly alerted about his plot to exact revenge on the man responsible for his mother's death. According to reports, the whole thing started nearly 8 years ago on March 22, 2016, when high school English teacher Michelle Barlow was killed in a car accident in the town of Wake Forest. She was driving on U.S. Route 1 near Capitol Boulevard when her minivan was hit from behind by a dump truck. It was later determined that the man driving the dump truck, Donald Calder, failed to slow down, likely due to fatigue or distraction. He pleaded guilty to misdemeanor death by motor vehicle and was given a suspended sentence with 12 months probation. While this initially appeared to be the end of the awful tragedy, investigators now say unfortunately that isn't the case. They allege that Michelle's son, Rhett Barlow, was caught trying to arrange the murder of the man responsible for her death. According to reports, the situation came to light on November 28, 2023, after Barlow attempted to hire a hitman to kill Calder. That day, he reportedly purchased 2 guns, which were purportedly intended to be used in the crime. The 22-year-old, who has been a member of the National Guard since 2019, also apparently requested a transfer so that he could be closer to the area where Calder lives. While few additional details about the alleged crime have been released, apparently police found out about the plot after the person Barlow tried to hire to carry out the killing contacted them instead. The 22-year-old was arrested at Fort Liberty on January 6th and has now been charged with solicitation for murder. He remains in custody on $1 million bond.
Representatives from North Carolina's Boone Police Department say that they recently dealt with quite the bizarre situation after a female suspect allegedly became so enraged at the fact that she was being arrested that she literally chewed up the back seat of one of their cruisers. According to reports, the situation took place sometime on January 2nd when police were called about an alleged assault involving a 32-year-old woman. When they arrived at the scene, the unidentified woman was placed under arrest, who apparently wasn't very happy about how things were playing out. As soon as she was placed in the back of one of their vehicles, she allegedly began to bite whatever she could with her teeth. Apparently, officers only noticed the damage after they had arrived back at the station and the 32-year-old had been taken in for processing. By that time, she had ripped and chewed up a large amount of padding in the back seat, with police estimating she did about $650 worth of damage to the vehicle. In a Facebook post after the incident, Boone police put up a photo of the aftermath, writing, quote, "That moment when you are so angry you were arrested that you decide to chew the seat. We may need to invest in Kevlar seat covers. Wow." Understandably, the post prompted a number of amusing responses. One commenter joked, "You are not you when you're hungry. Grab a Snickers." While another pointed out that the woman probably would have thought twice if she knew the kind of stuff that went on in the back seat of police vehicles. At the time of this recording, authorities say that they are still deciding whether to file additional charges against the woman for the damage to the cruiser.
Authorities in Bucks County, Pennsylvania released a major announcement in a terrifying cold case murder and robbery case this week, announcing that after more than a decade, one of the suspects allegedly responsible has finally been arrested and charged. According to reports, the case began nearly 11 years ago on January 18, 2013, when 2 armed men broke into the Hilltown Township home of 48-year-old Joseph Cannizzaro. Though Joseph's girlfriend was able to grab a revolver, she quickly decided against attacking the intruders after realizing she was majorly outgunned. After that, she, Joseph, and Joseph's 12-year-old son were quickly rounded up by the men. One of them took Joseph and headed off into another part of the house demanding money, while the other took the woman into the bathroom and sexually assaulted her. After the brutal assault was over, the female victim was tied up alongside Joseph's son in the basement. They were eventually able to free themselves, at which point they called police. Sadly, by the time authorities arrived, it was too late. Joseph Cannizzaro was found stabbed to death in the garage, and the 2 perpetrators had managed to escape. They had taken the 48-year-old's truck with them, along with a number of valuables from inside the residence. Upon launching an investigation, detectives were able to locate the stolen truck, which had been left in the parking lot of Quakertown Plaza Shopping Center. Surveillance footage revealed that the suspects had driven the vehicle there after the crime and loaded stolen valuables from the crime scene into a waiting Nissan sedan, which they then used to flee the area. The case eventually went cold. For several years, little progress was apparently made until a re-examination of evidence took place in 2019. That's when a DNA profile was obtained from a face covering found in Joseph's truck, as well as a sample taken from the female victim's rape kit. That profile recently came back as a match to a 50-year-old man named Thomas Delgado. Delgado was arrested this week and is now facing several charges, including murder, kidnapping, rape, and robbery. While little insight has been provided into the motive behind the crime, local news sources state that Joseph and Delgado had known each other for years at the time of the crime and apparently exchanged a number of phone calls in 2011. At the time of his murder, Joseph also owed millions of dollars to various creditors, including some casinos. Though Delgado is now in custody, it appears that the cold case is only half solved. Reports do not mention whether police have been able to identify the second perpetrator allegedly involved in the crime, nor whether they are close to making any additional arrests.
Authorities in Houston, Texas say that a local man known for his online rap career has been arrested and charged this week, months after police allegedly rescued a woman from his home who was being held prisoner there under horrifying conditions. According to reports, the investigation began sometime in April of 2023 when 911 dispatchers received text communications from a woman who said that she was being held against her will at a local residence. When officers arrived, they discovered the female victim inside of a garage at the property after forcing their way inside. What they allegedly found there was truly the stuff of nightmares. The garage had apparently been turned into a homemade prison cell, its doors locked from the inside and its windows boarded up. A makeshift toilet that wasn't capable of flushing and a filthy mattress that appeared to be covered in fresh vomit were among the few pieces of furniture. The woman who had called police for help was extremely malnourished and reportedly weighed just 70 pounds. Her clothes and hair were covered in dirt, and she said she hadn't been allowed to shower for some time. The woman explained that about 4 or 5 years ago, she had been panhandling on the street when she had been approached by the man who owned this house, 52-year-old Lee Carter. She said Carter offered her $1 and asked her if she needed help. She said that she did, and after some hesitancy, agreed to get into his car. After that, he locked her up in his garage. The woman claimed that during the time Carter held her captive, he had frequently forced her to use illegal drugs and had subjected her to countless sexual assaults. She said that she had tried to escape numerous times and had gotten close on a couple of occasions, but up until now had been unsuccessful. In one instance, she apparently managed to be taken to a local hospital, only for Carter to show up and for her to be released back into his care. She was reportedly able to call for help this time by using a texting app on Carter's laptop, though it has not been revealed how she got a hold of the device. Perhaps most disturbing of all, the woman is said to have been pregnant at the time of her alleged kidnapping, though so far, police have not released any information concerning the whereabouts of the child. While it's not exactly clear why there was a 9-month gap between the woman being freed and Carter being arrested, some sources state that police were unable to find the 52-year-old back in April of last year. That apparently changed recently when he was arrested and charged with aggravated kidnapping. Carter was released from custody on January 8th after posting $100,000 bond. After being let out, he quickly took to social media, claiming he was completely innocent and saying that he would be fully exonerated. According to local news sources, Carter is an online rapper who performs under the stage name Viper. His music has been streamed millions of times and averages roughly 50,000 listeners a month on Spotify. He and his lawyers now allege that the relationship between him and the female victim was consensual and that they have a young child together. At the time of this recording, the case is still under investigation. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.